Yes.
Pyrex and microwave in
I'm
the
out
whip.
here,
You
you
probably
heard?
think I'm baking cake when I'm working the whip. You probably think it's Pyrex.
Whole lot of shots followed after I bust your snot box. Witness a rock bottle. Shoot the fair one, mono the clown.
Welcome to the Senior Basketball Analyst. NBA fans, stand up. This was day one of the 2015-2016 NBA season, and we're all excited. Let's get right into it. The first game of the night on TNT was the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Madhouse on Madison facing the Chicago Bulls. Went right down to the wire. Cleveland down to ball in LeBron James' hands, drives to a strong hand, the right side. Pau Gasol rotates over for his sixth and final block of the game. Hey, if you're the Chicago Bulls, this has been the identity of this team since Tom Thibodeau took over. Under Fred Hoiberg, you saw a pretty good defensive effort, and you saw some of the new things that you're going to see. You saw a lot more ball movement where you have action weak side that is with the intent of getting the ball over there and then having a play made on that side, as opposed to just having everything always be about either some type of just traditional pick and roll where only it's a two-man game and the other three guys standing, or what we've seen in the past with the kind of inverted offense where Joakim Noah is cutting to the high post, getting a catch, and then there's backdoor cutters around him, and it's kind of almost like a bootleg version of the triangle. This, and since I did mention that, they did run that twice. And what I liked about that was this. It is very difficult for especially a player that is of the status of Joakim Noah at this point in his career, where he has been an all-star. He was actually third or fourth in MVP voting a couple of years back before the knee problems. Joakim Noah is a borderline NBA star, and he certainly is very visible. This is the team's emotional leader, so to speak. It is very difficult for a player like that to go to the bench, especially for whom is frankly a lesser player in Nikola Mirotic. So when you have that happen, when you go and demote a guy, it's always good to throw him a bone. And whether this is conscious or intentional or not, it was good to see the Bulls mix in some of those plays that were really part of the worst offense in the league. When Joakim Noah was leading all big men in assists and, in the MVP conversation, the Bulls were the worst offense in the league. They were horrendous. But when you mix those plays in with the new things that Fred Hoiberg is doing, those things can catch an offense by surprise, and it was working. And it was really good to see a couple of those plays run to give Joakim Noah an opportunity to continue to shine in the ways that he has in years past. So that was one of the things that was very encouraging about the way that Fred Hoiberg is coaching this team. What was also very encouraging, Tony Snell. Tony Snell was fantastic all game long. He was really good. Now, and I don't mean fantastic like all-star. I mean, he was fantastic for a role player, for a guy who is at best the fifth best player on this team. Tony Snell was hitting his jump shot. He was being aggressive and driving to the basket. He had a nice floater in the paint. He had a fantastic stop on the break of LeBron James. Had LeBron James throwing a ball like to nobody. It was a fantastic stop. And then that turnover led directly to a Tony Snell three. And by the way, these plays that I'm highlighting, most of these plays, they're on my Vine, my Instagram, and they're all on Twitter. So if hashtag SBA4, I'm at Twitter, at Instagram, at Vine, or on Vine, at SBA4, fourth string. So at SBA4THSTRING. You can see all these plays on there. Anyway, Tony Snell had a really nice game. It was also good to see, in his second year, Doug McDermott come off the bench, hit a few shots. That was good to see. Nikola Mirotic. Nikola Mirotic was real good. He was real good. Again, not all-star good, but for a guy, you say, hey, what did this guy do? Was he able to come in and fill his role and start making those steps to being the star that Gar Pax, that's the name locally we use for the Gar Foreman, John Paxson, executive two-headed monster for the Chicago Bulls. Seeing Nikola Mirotic make those steps toward being that star that they've said he can be was also very encouraging. Nikola Mirotic had Cleveland big men on skates all night. He was hitting those threes. He had a really nice play, gave a little eyebrow fake, blow by to the basket, easy layup. Really nice game. He was even giving a very strong defensive effort. Now, Nikola Mirotic does not have a clue what he's doing defensively. He makes a lot of mistakes, but the effort was there. So really, really nice game from Nikola Mirotic. On the Cleveland side, it was basically a lot of what you'd expect. It was a steady diet of LeBron James. At one point during the game, I just said, hey, man, LeBron plays this game like he's playing against his kids in the backyard. Like, it's very effortless. And the look on his face is so relaxed. And that's because LeBron James knows none of this means anything. None of this game doesn't mean anything. This is the first game of a long 82-game regular season. LeBron James wants a championship. He doesn't care what happens other than making sure they're preparing to get to that championship. Whether they win or lose, not really relevant. What he wants to see is, are they doing the right things? Unfortunately, I don't think they were doing a lot of the right things. This team is in disarray. It's in disarray. And they have to fix it. And one of the things that's going to fix it is when their starting point guard is back in the fold in Kyrie Irving. That's going to not right the ship, because the ship isn't, it's not, I don't mean to make it like a dire circumstance, but this team is not organized. They don't have, it's beyond not having an identity. They don't seem to know what they're going to do from possession to possession. They don't have a plan. They just get into stuff and then just kind of do stuff. And since they have pros, it's not like they're doing really crazy haphazard things, but there's no flow, and you don't see them go and then make a conscious effort to do something. Like, I'll give you an example. First play of the game, their first possession, Kevin Love got in a situation where he was near the basket with Mirotic isolated. He immediately sealed him, locked his hip, called for the ball. Mo Williams dumped it down. Kevin Love, the Mirotic might as well have not been there. Kevin Love spun to the basket, dunked the ball. I said, man, they need to set that up all night. They need to set that up and treat Kevin Love as though he's Zach Randolph tonight and just have him just bang Mirotic into the ground. They never did that again. They did the first play of the game. Kevin Love scored as easily as it could possibly be. They never went back to it. So what ends up happening is you could have had a situation where you force the Bulls into double teaming Kevin Love all night long. And instead I had to watch Kevin Love launching threes all night. And as you'd expect, Kevin Love 6 of 17 from the field. Look, Kevin Love didn't play bad or anything, but him going 6 of 17 and getting 18 and 8 when Nikola Mirotic is 19 and 9 on only 11 field goal attempts, he just got outplayed by a second-year big man. Can't have it. Can't have it. The Cleveland Cavaliers can't win a championship with Kevin Love being that ineffective. And it's not ineffective like he's horrible, but this guy's a superstar. So we have the standard being higher for Kevin Love. And a lot of it I don't feel is his fault, because he's not being put in position to take advantage of his complete skill set. He's out there most of the time. Really, the only time he can really get the ball in position to score is on a pick and pop for a three. That's not enough. That's not going to get it done. And he has to take advantage, especially against the Bulls. He has to take advantage of the Mirotic matchup, because when the Secretary of Defense gets out there, Taj Gibson, no, it's going to be very, very difficult for Kevin Love to score. It's going to be very difficult because Taj Gibson is that type of defender. Taj Gibson with 3 blocks on the night. And that's what you expect out of Taj. That's what you're always going to get. Derrick Rose for the Bulls, extremely aggressive. He's one of those guys that's a star but can't get any calls at the rim. He was getting fouled a lot, and I'm contact that was obvious. It wasn't like it's not ticky-tack stuff. Obvious contact with the body, slapped across the arm while he's trying to crip the ball up, and he can't get the call. He only took 2 threes. He missed them both, but he only took 2 threes. Took 22 shots. That's a lot. But he had 18 points, 5 assists. In the win, you shrug your shoulders and you say it's okay. Jimmy Butler looks out of sorts. And again, this is no cause for alarm. It doesn't look like he's used to taking the shots that, for example, Mirotic gets in this offense that are easy. Jimmy Butler gets those same shots, and they're not necessarily easy shots for him. And I think that's just because he's not used to it. So Jimmy Butler with a 6 of 14 night, I think he'll get better, and that's by no means bad. It's just that, again, Jimmy Butler, this is a guy that's approaching superstardom, so I'm holding him to a very high standard because the Bulls, they're going for a title. So holding him to a very high standard. Jimmy Butler really needs to make some of those shots that he got that were easy shots. He needs to make those. Switching one more time back over to Cleveland. Mo Williams was really good on the night with 19 points. We know he can score. And the dude, he had a 50-point game last year. Mo Williams, even as he gets, well into his 30s, Mo Williams can still fill the basket up. He's not Kyrie Irving, but that's good enough. I would have liked to see Jay Flight Cunningham play more. I would have liked to see that. Him only playing 3 minutes was disappointing. I don't really know what you're waiting for with him. Because if you think that he's not better than Dellavedova, David Blatt, well, I don't know. That's the 15th thing you've done that should get you fired. Finally, I'll just say this. This was a really good, exciting game, and you look forward to these games. You didn't get to see any of the silliness you usually see between LeBron and Joakim Noah. You didn't get to see any of that. But nevertheless, it was a very, up-tempo, crazy atmosphere. It didn't feel like a playoff game, but it felt like an important regular season game. Everybody had bounce in their step, people hammering down dunks. Jimmy Butler came through the paint, and he came through the paint with a 2-hand dunk that looked like he was going to jump over the rim or something. He was still rising when he dunked the ball. Everybody had the fresh legs and everything. It was great. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about David Blatt as a coach. Okay, fine. He doesn't really know the rules. He can't figure out how many timeouts he has. The players don't respect him. Okay, fine. But when you're running the final play of the game, you have one opportunity to get a shot up to try to force overtime, and you can't inbound the ball. It just gets stolen. I don't know why you're a professional coach. I don't know what has to happen for you to be held accountable for your poor organization and X's and O's. I don't understand that. We see so many head coaches at the college and pro level that get great shots out of bounds plays. We see it all the time. We saw it under Scott Skiles as head coach of the Chicago Bulls and head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. We've seen it out of Rick Carlisle over the years. We've seen it out of Doc Rivers over the years. We've seen it. The list goes on and on. Of course, Greg Popovich. The list goes on and on of coaches where their teams routinely, when they're running a sideline out or they're running a baseline out, where they get a wide open jump shot, or teams that can get, hey, we saw what happened to the Bulls. We saw it last year. Jared Bayless finishing at the rim for the Milwaukee Bucks last year, finishing at the rim for game. Teams that are well coached, like a team coached by Jason Kidd, they get good shots on out of bounds plays. They don't just fail to inbound the ball. And that's the kind of sloppiness you routinely see from the Cleveland Cavaliers. You see that routinely. And if you want a championship, it's very difficult to overcome that kind of sloppiness. It's not that you can't do it. It just makes it more difficult. So those are my thoughts on Chicago Bulls versus Cleveland Cavaliers. As always, like us, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Vine, Twitter, all of that. We're everywhere. SeniorBasketballAnalyst.com. We're everywhere. Hit us up in the comments. I always want to talk basketball, so any analysis you have, I would love the conversation. So, I always answer everything and all that. So hit us up on Twitter, hit us up in the comments, and hit the thumbs up. I'll be back very shortly with the next game of the night. Golden State Warriors at home, ring ceremony against the New Orleans Pelicans. You saw it. You know the result. Not so hot, but we're going to break it down anyway. So catch the next video. And you know that.
Oh yes, Sean Carter is nice, but Sean Price is the best. Sean gone, no Sean Dawn. Sean is a dawn I don't